There's no easy way out.
Some people think, well, I don't have a brand, I just have a business. Well, you do have a brand, and your brand does mean something to your customers. You know, I say a brand is a combination of who you think you are and what your customers know you are. And hopefully who you think you are and what your customers think you are match. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the No Easy Way Out podcast. My name is Tony Nash, and we are coming to you, as always, from the Woodworth building in beautiful downtown Owasso, home to my company, AZ Branding Solutions, where we help grow your brand from A to Z. So today, we are going to talk about the event that everybody else is talking about in the world right now, and that is WrestleMania. Now, I got to admit, I don't know nearly as much about WrestleMania or WWE wrestling or professional wrestling in general as some, but I was thought, man, who do I know that knows about wrestling? And it didn't take me long to know that the man that you all know and love that works right here in our office, who wrote an article on this very topic that you can find at azbranding.com, who is currently a professional wrestler, who is probably the biggest wrestling fan I know, who owns a TikTok channel called Wrestle Bros, who holds 2 Guinness World Records, who is fighting this Saturday professionally for a championship here in the state of Michigan, wrestling. It is the one and only, if you haven't already guessed, my co-host for today to talk about all things WrestleMania is the one and only Casey Lambert. Casey, welcome to the show, man. Welcome back.
Yo, it's me. I don't know who it is, but hey, Tony, super excited to be here. Super excited to cover this topic that I covered in a blog post a couple of weeks ago. And listen, even if you're not a wrestling fan, even if you know absolutely nothing about pro wrestling, there are things that we can take from pro wrestling and apply into our branding, and to apply into our everyday lives, and how about we do things. And I think just WrestleMania 40 that happened over this past weekend is such a great catalyst to this. And I'm stoked to talk about this.
Well, you sent me some clips. I watched them. It was crazy. It was in an outdoor stadium. Mm-hmm. The one thing that stuck out to me, well, there's a lot of things that stuck out to me, but everybody was all bundled up, so it must have been cold. But these wrestlers are still in like barely nothing. But
well, they had heaters above the ring.
Yeah, I assumed. But man, packed out outdoor. What arena was it in?
It was Lincoln Financial Field, which is where the Philadelphia Eagles play.
And how many people does it seat?
That seats just about 75,000. So over the course of 2 days, they had upwards of 145,000 people.
Crazy. So you wrote an article recently called "The Marketing Marvel of WrestleMania." Mm-hmm. The marketing behind this great sport, this thing that's attracted fans from all over the world. It's become a global phenomenon, but it didn't get there without good marketing. So we're going to talk a little bit about that too. So let's talk a little bit though about the event, about WrestleMania. You had me watch a couple matches. You had me watch Rhea Ripley. You texted these Rhea Ripley against Becky Lynch. And for me, the ladies wrestling, I didn't enjoy as much. It's just, when I grew up watching wrestling, I was a big wrestling fan as a youngster, probably between the ages of like 6 and 12. So we're talking like the Hulk Hogan, Macho Man Randy Savage, Bushwhackers, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, Jake the Snake Roberts, the Ultimate Warrior. All of these kind of guys that I had the little thumb wrestlers, you stick your thumb up the butt.
Did you have a wrestling buddy, the little stuffed?
I did. I had Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan. My buddy had Macho Man, and we would, just like the commercials, we would just like wrestle.
As you should.
Yes. I mean, it was big back then. Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, all of these characters that were just childhood heroes of mine. And then at some point, I took on more of an interest in baseball and basketball and stopped watching less wrestling. So I don't know nearly as much about it today, but it stood out to me that the 100,000 plus people that were there were fully invested in what was happening in the ring. And when the people were coming out, the crowd would go nuts. And what shocked me is, having not really watched much in the last 30 years, obviously as an adult, you can tell that it's somewhat choreographed. Mm-hmm. It's like a dance.
Yep, just like a dance.
People say wrestling's fake, but people say the NFL is choreographed. People say that NBA is choreographed. So who knows?
It's not fake. It's just predetermined.
It's highly entertaining, but these people are like fully engaged. Like they, no clue what's going to happen. Of course, the people don't know. But it was a different experience for me as an adult than it was as a child. But most people I saw in the stands were adults. And you are a grown man, have lots of interest, but you love wrestling. What is it that you love so much about professional wrestling?
Well, I mean, I can talk in circles about what I love about it, but the reason it captivates, and I'll go through some of the numbers of what WrestleMania produced and why, and you'll see the global impact of it. But it comes down to the thing, the story, the characters. You talked about your love for wrestling in the late 80s, early 90s. Think about those people that you love. Yeah. Larger than life characters and personas. Wow. Their stories were so intricate. I remember watching The Ultimate Warrior in Jake the Snake's snake pit. It's clearly staged. It's clearly entertainment, but it's captivating. You suspend disbelief.
Well, every movie is choreographed,
exactly,
scripted. But you still watch it because it's entertaining.
Yeah, and it's like the people that WWE and other wrestling companies employ actually a lot of times come from television and film and entertainment, and there's a reason
or they
for
migrate to that after they go from there to
And that's why it captivates people so much. So this year, more than any other year in WrestleMania history, you saw a lot of brands attach themselves.
For sure.
You're looking at Prime. You're looking at
center ring sponsor.
Center ring sponsor. First one ever. Dude Wipes, Snickers, whatever
some insurance company that was everywhere. I don't remember what it was, but
exactly. But there's a reason they do. And listen, I'm going to there's tons of stats, and you can look them up. Just look up WrestleMania stats, and you'll find this. But the two biggest ones that stand out is over the course of 2 days, 660 million social media views on WrestleMania content only produced by WWE. We're not talking about all the side podcasts and everything else.
Like this podcast.
Exactly. And the biggest one to me was 1.8 billion minutes of content consumed globally in the 2 days of WrestleMania and the one after.
And for the WrestleMania channel?
Yes.
Wow.
From an economic standpoint, the city of Philadelphia, which hosted WrestleMania, saw a $215 million economic impact just from WrestleMania coming in.
Do you have any idea how that compares to like the Super Bowl or the Final Four or these other big events that come to cities, the NBA draft?
So I can't speak to exact numbers. It is significantly more than the Final Four.
Yeah.
And I know it's right on par with the Super Bowl. Could possibly be more because you're hosting more people.
And it's over a course
for
of days.
WrestleMania.
Yeah, that's crazy to me. $215 million over the course of a couple days. I know for me, watching it, like I said, going back to my childhood, it's a little bit different. I didn't know some of the characters that you sent me, but when The Rock made his entrance, how long has it been since he's been in the ring? So
technically it's been 8 years, but The Rock really hasn't been around in a full-time capacity since the early 2000s. So we're talking like, I think 2005 was his last real full-time stint. And The Rock came in
still in great shape.
The Rock came in, he came in to push a 40-year storyline between the Samoan dynasty family that started with The Rock's grandfather and the Rhodes family, who started with the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. And I'm not going to spoil WrestleMania for you. I probably will later in the episode. But a literal 40-year, multi-generational storyline we're talking about here. Like huge. And for The Rock to come in, a guy who's a borderline billionaire, a guy who
mega movie star,
owns the XFL, who is in every single movie, has so many brands attached to him. For him to say, I'm taking 4 months off of my busy Hollywood schedule and I am coming back to progress a storyline between my family and another family in order to usher in a new era of wrestling.
Crazy.
Insane. And come on, he made a new character.
Yeah.
The Rock, who was Rocky Maivia, this weird Hawaiian guy, to turn into the Nation of Domination Rock. And you'll probably hear us throw this term out, face and heel. A face is a good guy, a heel is a bad guy. And The Rock is probably the best person at being able to change good guy, bad guy all the time. He turned into the final boss. He was the ultimate bad guy. He got everybody to boo him, which is the idea and the goal of a heel. Man, it made it so much better.
I want to talk about Final Boss.
Yeah.
All right. So all over TikTok this week, the last 2 weeks, I've been seeing all this content people are producing about Final Boss. And I'm like, what is this about? Is this like, I understand like in the context of a video game, the final boss that you have to fight. I'm like, why is everybody talking about final boss? And then when you sent me that clip and I watched it and it came across the big screen, of course his intro, the build up with the lightning and the music and the flames of his logo that he's standing in the center of. I mean, just absolutely epic. But final boss, I mean, what a great character, great name, you know, kind of like one of the most iconic wrestlers of all time makes his comeback. I also had no idea that Roman Reigns was his cousin.
Oh, yeah.
I had no idea of the relation. I had no idea of any of that stuff. Again, I've been very detached from it. I went a few months ago when you ran for Mr. Wasso and you did some wrestling here against Gideon Malice.
Oh, yeah.
And was absolutely blown away sitting up close to the ring, getting video footage about how, even though it might be choreographed, that looks like it hurts.
Yeah.
And that looks like it takes a lot of athleticism and, you know, incredible. But wow, man, wow. It's been an amazing thing to see what's happening. So one of the things you and I have talked about a lot when we've been discussing this, and you've been trying to educate me on the world of WrestleMania, the world of wrestling, I should say, is what it is that people get attached to beyond the athleticism, beyond the pageantry, beyond the actual wrestling itself, is these characters. These characters get developed so well. We talked about a minute ago. The characters I fell in love with in my childhood all were these bigger than life characters, personalities that had these whole stories. They had girlfriends that were, you know, bad guys and good guys, and there was villains, and they built, and then, you know, of course there were toys and there were all these things. But the WWE, formerly the WWF, has done an incredible job at developing these stories.
Yeah, and you saw it, like I said a little bit ago, a 40-year storyline come to fruition. But every single match has a storyline attached to it. So I can take my own experience as a pro wrestler and put this into this. Like we said, I have a couple Guinness World Records. I'm a very strong person. Well, my character is exactly that. My character is, he's the world's strongest.
Yeah.
So when I wrestle in the ring,
You're a character always, but that is a new character.
yeah, and it's all power moves. I'm supposed to make it look like I'm the strongest person in the world. And if you're going to beat me, you need to do it by overcoming that. So characters are huge, storylines surrounding it. And the matches you saw in WrestleMania, I purposely had you watch the pre-match segments.
Yeah.
The reason being is because those tell the story. Like even so Logan Paul wrestled in a triple threat for the US championship.
I've never seen a 3-person match. They were all going against each other. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Oh yeah, and it was great. He went against one of the most legendary wrestlers of all time, Randy Orton and Kevin Owens. Well, the whole match told the story of everybody hates Logan Paul, but they have to respect his athletic ability.
Unbelievable.
And Logan Paul plays that up to the crowd so well by moving slow, by stopping in the middle of what he's doing and just giving that devilish smile. Every single
what he's doing.
match has a story, and that's why brands attach themselves to the WWE.
Yeah, it's part of their marketing strategy. It's not by chance. It's not these guys developed this character on their own and then tried to make their way into the WWF or WWE, but they showed some athletic ability, some wrestling prowess. They worked their way in, and then the WWE actually helps them develop these characters as part of their own marketing strategy to tell these stories. And the, as you call it, the marketing marvel, the genius behind that brand, and why there's millions of people or billions of views over the course of a couple days is because people are drawn to the story.
Well, it's coming from a marketing director, right? You want to have something that you do and you produce that produces content across multiple platforms, across multiple mediums of media, video, photos, discussion points, podcast topics. And literally there is nobody on the face of this planet that does it better than the WWE. And that's why they have those 1.8 billion minutes of content. That's why they have that 668 million social media reaches in the past 2 days, is because every piece of content, and you'll see it for the next month, everything will be WrestleMania, WrestleMania, WrestleMania. Yeah. And they are raking in the freaking cash because of it. And the brands that they represent, your Prime, your Snickers, your Dude Wipes, your whatever insurance company that was, they are going to continue to rake in the cash because they attach themselves to an absolute content powerhouse.
Well, it makes sense if you think about it. Like, if you think about any movie that you love that movie because you like some character in that movie. You love the story of that movie. There's something about that made, if you like basketball, when you started liking basketball, you fell in love with a basketball player and what they were about and their story. Maybe you fell in love with Air Jordan. You know, I want to be like Mike. The Gatorade commercials, the Nike commercials. You fell in love with the sneakers, and so then all of a sudden you started going out and trying to mimic the moves, and then you started playing some Y-ball, and then you got to really fall in love with it. Then you found there were other characters, and you fell in love with the sport. And, you know, I think that businesses should really take note of this, and that if you want to draw fans, you got to tell a story. You got to have a story. You got to be willing to let people in on the story. You got to have characters. You got to have a plot. You got to have something that you're doing, and you got to let people in and be compelling with it. And if you can't, you know, think of something that you should do on your own, look at what some of these other brands have done with that. And of course, we're doing a podcast coming up. Me and Beth are doing one about visual storytelling and about story brand. And of course, she just did a talk on that. But man, what a good example the WWE has set on building out these characters and telling the story.
Oh yeah, it's exactly what you said. If you are a business and your content strategy is, we posted a couple of pictures on social media, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
If you're a business and your content strategy is taking a potential buyer through a story and giving them something they can relate to, you are winning, and you will continue to win and build. And that's the bottom line, because Casey said so.
Yeah, well, I mean, and so you because Casey said so, I like that. But listen, I mean, you think you're maybe watching, you're like, I don't know what stories to tell. I am a hardware store. I'm a restaurant. I'm this or I'm that. And so you're like, I have products. I have service. What do I tell? Well, there's all kinds of stories that could be pulled from that. You could tell the story of your family. If it's a family-owned business, people might be interested in knowing where your family came from and how you built the work ethic that you had growing up and pour that into your business and into your employees and into your food and into your products. Whatever it is, maybe it's specific products you have. You tell the story of how those products were made, or how those products are going to solve problems for people's life, or how they're going to give solutions to their everyday stories. The story doesn't always have to be about you. We do, Casey, with our marketing strategy, with everything, we build out buyer personas, where we actually develop these characters. A teacher who has a class, who has this need for apparel for her, third grade classroom field trip. We build out this persona of who she is, what she does, what her needs are. And so we're building a story that we can now then use our product to finish the story for the character. And so it's not always about talking about you. It's building out a story of who is the person that's going to buy from you. And you got to get good at it if you're going to build your brand.
And I love this because, like, Tony, you and I, when I first started on, kind of had a little bit different philosophy on marketing.
For sure. I didn't know much about it at all.
And I learned a lot from you, and you learned a lot from me. And now we're starting to see, just based off of what we call, likeness or cookie cutter or whatever you want to call it, that it is all about the characters in the story. And it's the story that we're trying to reach.
Yeah.
So when people who, and I love talking about it like this, and I wrote another one that's called like Brandom versus Fandom, and how you can get people to become fans of your brand. They have to be connected to the story, and telling that story in the same way that we learned for 40 years Cody Rhodes' family has been trying to capture the WWE title.
Yeah.
And for 40 years, The Rock and Roman's family has been stopping them. And the culmination of that gives you goosebumps. And you just want more and more and more of it. Your brand, your business can literally do the same thing.
Absolutely.
And it's not going to cost you millions of dollars to start.
No.
You just need to be able to tell that story, produce content surrounding that story, and get it to people who relate to that story.
100%. Well, and I've always been heavy on branding and really didn't even know the difference between branding and marketing. As a matter of fact, one of your biggest contributions to AZ, which was formerly AZ Business Solutions, at one point I had considered calling it AZ Marketing Solutions. And you coming in with a wealth of knowledge and experience in the world of marketing help us identify that we're not really a marketing agency. We're a branding agency, and there is a difference. Now, we do offer a lot of marketing assistance. We do marketing consultations. We help, in some cases, people write a marketing strategy. But we're not necessarily a marketing company. But branding and marketing are two different things, but they're a perfect marriage when they work together right. And I think where they come together the best is when branding helps you develop the story, marketing helps you get it out there.
Yes,
put it out to the
sir.
world.
Yes,
and
sir.
So it's a 1-2 punch that you have to have for your business. And here's the good news. Maybe you're watching this, you're like, I know I need this. I see what you guys are saying, but I don't know where to start. Give us a call, man. We're here. We love, and I say this all the time, I am a branding nerd. I love to just talk about your brand and what you're doing and what your goals and your dreams and your visions are, and we can talk about that and see if there's some way we can help. I'm certain there probably is. We also have our marketing meetups the third Monday of every month. If you're local or if you're within a driving distance, come to one of our marketing meetups. It's absolutely free. You're going to hear great speakers. You're going to meet a lot of other business owners to talk about how they tell their stories and some things that they've done that has worked well and things that they haven't. But regardless of where you're sitting at right now, you got to start telling stories. You got to start doing it. You got to get creative. You've done so much work in developing your products and your services, and you've built this great space, and you have maybe a good website, and you have all these things that you've done, and you have the best hot dogs from here to the Mississippi, or you have these great products, but you don't know how to get the word out. You don't know how to tell the story of what you're doing. That's where maybe you need a company like ours to come in and give you some assistance, and we're happy to do it.
Yeah, and we do. Everybody that we have brand partnerships with, which is kind of a recent development for us.
For sure.
We go through a kickoff strategy, and we go through a quarterly strategy.
Yep.
And we make sure to develop that story along with them. And yeah, cheap plug for ourselves, but our staff here at AZ, that's what really gets us up in the morning.
Yep.
Is to say, I'm coming into work not to work for AZ. I'm coming into work to work for Success Group Mortgage. I'm coming into work to work for Seawick Construction. I'm coming into work to
Firebirds.
Yeah, for the Flint Firebirds, and be able to tell those compelling stories along with those businesses and the brands. And for me, and I think this is why I love marketing so much, is you get to see the end result of the emotions that you evoke on the people who purchase those products, the people who are helped by KSA real estate agents. And when you get to
Corey Shook and Associates.
Yeah, when you get to see that as the end result, like, Tony, I'm a crier. I'm an emotional guy.
Goosebumps.
Things move me. Like, that's what gets me up in the morning. And here's the thing. Your business can be doing that too. Yeah. You might just need a little bit of help developing the brand, developing the character, developing the storyline. Well, man, we get so excited about that here.
Right. You can't be an expert in everything. You can't. And
I'm shaking, man.
Well, you know what I love? My favorite part is when we're meeting with these business owners and their employees or their team. We're talking strategy. We're talking vision. Dan always says the phrase, a vision helps you determine what you could do from what you should do. And I always start our marketing kickoffs with, what could we do? Let's just talk about ideas. And then we go into what should we do. That's where vision comes into place. But my favorite part, what I love, is when you see that business owner or their employees and they have that light bulb moment.
Oh, yeah.
We're like, oh, okay, that's what we've been missing. Like, they're baffled because they have these great products and services. You're listening, and I have these great products or services. You have something that will solve a problem that people don't even know they have, or maybe a problem they know they have, and you just don't know how to get it out there. And then you're just kind of stuck. And so, and even if you're not local, reach out to us. We want to talk to you. We can help you have that light bulb moment. And man, I love it when I see that. And it's like it just clicked, and then they get all excited about it, and we work together, and we help. We could give example after example of brands that we've helped grow to new heights just by being able to tell their story. Yeah. So, man, I think WWE, WWF has been a great example of this. I love your passion about it. I want to wish you really good luck. It's actually tomorrow. As we're filming this, your match is tomorrow, right?
Right. Yep.
So give us a little hype for that.
A little bit of hype for this. A year-long storyline that started with my world record certificate getting smashed over my head. Yes, it was real glass.
In the ring.
Yes, I had to pick it out of my forehead later that night, but have just been going toe-to-toe with Gideon Malice for an entire year over the course of 5 matches. Nothing has been a clean finish, what we call. I know I used the term screw job the other day, and you guys thought it was funny. But
yeah, seems a little inappropriate.
Basically, that year-long culmination has set up this right now to where him and I are going toe-to-toe for the Michigan Heavyweight State Champion. This storyline has been built up and built up and built up, and the ticket sales for the event reflect that. The brands that have partnered with us to sponsor that event have reflected that, and the excitement leading to it have reflected that. We've done our job up into this point. All Malice and I have to do is go out there tomorrow night and put on a show for the crowd and enjoy ourselves while we beat the crap out of each other.
The last, and listen to the story. I mean, it's compelling. It's rich, as Ron Burgundy would say. But the one final thing I want to say about wrestling, again, having watched it up close and personal, you know, we talked about the choreograph, the plan, but man, seeing these guys slam off the ring, seeing them do these very athletic moves where they're lifting people up and dropping them on the ground, breaking tables, breaking glass over their head. Again, watching Logan Paul do some of these unbelievable moves off the ropes. It's like parkour. One, he kind of dove down at Cody Reigns.
Oh, I think it was Kevin Owens, but yeah.
Yeah, sorry. He dives down head first. I'm like, he's going to break his neck. And then he like rolls over into this parkour while grabbing the guy. Like, unbelievable. So even though you might say, oh, it's fake, I'm telling you right now, seeing it up close and personal, it like I said, I would use the word choreographed maybe or planned, but certainly not fake. There's some real stuff happening.
It's just a story, man.
And I've seen this guy the day after an event, how sore he is and how much pain he's in, how much training goes into doing it. So absolutely incredible. So listen, at the end of this thing, tell your story. Tell your story. Come up with some stories that are compelling, whether it be stories about your customer, stories about your product, stories about your family, and just put something out there. People will resonate. I said this in another episode. Everywhere I go locally here, I feel like people think that they know us. They know my employees. They know their names. They know what they do here. They know their characters. They're understanding what we do. In terms of our market, our brand recognition and brand awareness is as high as I think we could get it. And it's because we are very intentional about telling our story. We bring people in. So you got to do that too. So before we wrap it all up, we're going to rank our 5 favorite wrestlers of all time. But I'm also told that you do some impressions. And I've heard you do some of these.
We're going to do this? We're really going to do this.
I've heard you do some of these around the office. So I'm going to say a name and you just give me your best impression, all right?
Okay, I think
some
I
of
can
these
try
are
this.
from my era, but give me your best Hulk Hogan.
What you gonna do when AZ Mania runs wild on you, brother?
The Rock.
This one goes out to the millions and millions of AZ fans out there.
Jake the Snake Roberts.
Tony, let me tell you a story about branding. It comes from the heart. It comes from the story.
Give me the Undertaker.
Rest in branding.
Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Okay, this one's pretty simple. Ho!
Final, the one that probably most people in the world who have never watched wrestling have some form of an impression of this guy. I got one a little bit like, higher education got you down? Step into a Slim Jim. Like, that's my best. Give me Macho Man Randy Savage.
Well, Tony, if there's one thing I got, it's a cup of tea. And that cup of tea rhymes with AZ. And if you're thinking of one thing, oh, yeah, it's all about branding here. Ooh.
Dude, that's incredible.
Oh,
we need to take you on the road just to do wrestling impressions. Very, very good. Let us know in the comments what you think about Casey's impressions. But before we really officially sign off, as we do in every episode, we are going to rank our 5 favorite. We rank something in every episode. We're going to rank our 5 favorite wrestlers of all time. I'm pulling mine up here. And we're going to start with number 5. I'm only gonna allow one honorable mention. Last time you had like 17 honorable mentions.
It was boxers, man.
Might as well have been a top 10
Yeah.
at that point. But I'll give you one honorable mention. But let's go 5 favorite wrestlers. This isn't necessarily the best wrestlers of all time. I ranked mine on characters. My 5 favorite characters who told their story, who I know a little bit about their story. 5 favorite wrestlers of all time. So let's start. Casey, give us number 5. Or do you have an honorable mention?
I don't. I got
Okay.
5 straight up
Give
wrestlers.
me your number 5.
And it's funny because mine are all bad guys. But to what you said, it's the stories that pull you in, and that's different for everybody. And if you're a business, it's different for different segments of your audience. So my number 5 favorite is the tribal chief Roman Reigns, who lost his 1,300-day title reign this Sunday.
1,300 days. Wow, I didn't
Yeah.
realize it was that long. All right. I do have an honorable mention. That is Roddy Piper.
Oh, Hot Rod.
The first man I ever saw wore a skirt that I thought, that was before I saw William Wallace. But I'm like, that's a man. My number 5, I loved, all these guys have great nicknames. Bret the Hitman Hart. I used to love Bret the Hitman Hart. What's your number 4?
My number 4, hey, yo, it's the bad guy, Razor Ramon. And here he had the best quote of all time, and I love this. Bad times never last, but bad guys do. And his character was known as the bad guy.
All right. Number 4 for me, you did an impression of him. Well, you did most of these guys. The Undertaker.
Oh, wow.
He's been around forever.
Yeah.
Does he have the longest career? I mean, Hulk Hogan was a long time, but The Undertaker seems like he just never.
So
dies.
in terms of like WWE, WWF, Undertaker is the longest reigning. Like I think it's like 24, 25 WrestleMania matches.
That's crazy.
Only one of which was a loss, by the way, to Brock Lesnar. But Undertaker's actually my number 3.
Number 3, all right.
And it's because he's gone over different character arcs in like iterations. You know, he had the Brothers of Destruction with Kane. He had the American Badass, the Undertaker, where he rode the motorcycle to the ring, and he had Kid Rock music playing. Like so many great ones. He's my number 3.
All right, my number 3, Jake the Snake Roberts. Love it, man. Great nickname, rhymed with his name. Just incredible. Love
Yeah,
Jake the
and
Snake.
he brought an actual snake to the ring,
Yes, he did. Wrapped right around his neck.
which was cool. So I guess number 2.
Number 2.
Number 2 for me, Chicago-made CM Punk. He is most notable for being given a script and saying, go out there and say this, and throwing the script away and saying, F this, I'm going to talk directly to the fans. And because of that, no matter what promotion you're in, no matter what arena, you'll hear CM Punk chants. And he is still active today.
CM
So
Punk.
captivating, so compelling.
Well, my number 2 is also someone you did an impression of, but also a sponsor of one of my favorite snacks of all time. I am a big Slim Jim guy, and that is the one and only Macho Man Randy Savage.
And it's interesting you say that about Slim Jim, because Macho Man was the first WWE, WWF representative for a Slim Jim partnership that has lasted
Yes, for
37 years, including this year's representative, where the new Slim Jim spokesperson, L.A. Knight, is there. But throughout 37 years, Slim Jim and WWE have been partnered, and it's all because of the original Macho Man stuff.
Amazing. Well, let's give us, drum roll please, your number 1 favorite wrestler of all
Jump
time.
roll, please. Number 1, you know Casey likes bad guys, and there is no better bad guy character than Jake the Snake Roberts. Little known fact,
It's your favorite, huh?
Stone Cold Steve Austin would not exist if Jake the Snake Roberts did not put him over.
Yeah.
Like, absolute. And if you've never watched, there's a show on Hulu called Dark Side of the Ring, and it tells like some of the darker stories in wrestling. But watch the episode for Grizzly Smith, who was Aurelian Smith. That's Jake the Snake Roberts' real name. It was his dad. It's to see Jake the Snake turn into his character, knowing what his backstory was. That is the ultimate like reality and fiction blurred together storyline. So for me, there was no question. It's Jake the Snake.
Well, my number 1 is probably the most popular, the most mainstream, the one that everybody knows if they've never watched a single wrestling match. Probably comes from his appearance in Rocky 3 as Thunder Lips. That is the Molten Mountain of Lust.
Oh man.
That is Hulk Hogan, baby. Or Hollywood Hogan. I wasn't as big fan of his NWA days, but it was cool. But Hulk Hogan. I was a Hulkamaniac.
Mm-hmm.
I used to do the little spin with the ear to see if the crowd was listening. They were never listening.
How
to me,
many
never cheering,
of your T-shirts have you just ripped off?
I tried, but my mom would get upset about that. But
Did you say your prayers and eat your vitamins every night?
Of course.
Attaboy.
Of course. Hulk Hogan. Plus, he was in a lot of movies.
Suburban Commando.
He was in Three Ninjas, one of the Three Ninjas movies. So, yeah, I was a big Hulk Hogan fan. And so, yeah, that's it, man. Thanks for ranking those. Anything else?
All great characters.
All
great characters with great stories.
Yep.
Who tell great stories.
And there's many more we didn't even touch on.
Oh, geez. We could go literally for 4 or 5 hours on this stuff.
But we won't. We won't. We thank you for sticking along on this journey with us. What do you got? Anything?
Nah, man. I thank you for bringing this topic up.
Yeah, thanks for writing the article.
And allowing us to kind of take that, what used to be a very microcosmic world of pro wrestling that is continuing to grow into mainstream, and breaking it down and analyzing what makes it great and realizing, oh, this is the light bulb that helps propel our business. And Tony will be a testament to this. By bringing that pro wrestling type feel into our own business and branding, we've exploded.
100%. And you're going to notice if you've been watching our podcast or you read our blog, that we take a lot of these big ideas, these big topics, these big news stories, and we're looking at it from the aspect of the brand behind it. And any popular brand that you love or know, any restaurant that you love or know, anything that you buy or love, it didn't happen by accident. There was some good branding and marketing and storytelling behind it that made that product accessible to you. And there's so many businesses that have had great products and services that have failed and gone out of business because they didn't know how to tell their story. They didn't know how to brand themselves. They didn't know how to market. So reach out to us if you need any help. AZ Branding Solutions. We're happy to help you in any way that we can. And as I always say at the end, thanks for watching this show. As my mother always said, you can't and never could until you tried. So go out there and try something great, my friends, and don't take the easy way out. We'll see you next time.